Welcome. Hello. I'm Gail Henry Walker, CEO of GAH Consulting. GAH Consulting is a consulting company that provides life and business coaching support services. We also do business coaching and government contracting consulting services. We also offer a mentorship program. We also offer a mentorship program to our We also offer mentorship programs to our viewers as well as our clients on the GAH consulting side. Okay, so what we're doing today is going to be a continuation of last week's workshop. And so what we're doing now is, so you have an idea, now what? Last week, what we did, one second, please. Okay, so last week we went over a few things. We went over what the basis of your idea was. We also talked about how to figure out what your idea is about. If it solves a problem, if it is a convenience, or if what you do is meet an unmet need in the marketplace. We went over what the personality of your company is, the key message, and whether you're going to sell products or a service. And if you were going to sell a product, we focused a lot on the product side last week, that if you're going to sell a product, you can either do it in a storefront or you can do it online. And if you do it online, one of the options that you have is drop shipping. And so what we did was we went over information about, drop shipping. So we also went about talking about the resources that you're going to need in order for your dream to become a reality. So you have to look around and see what resources are available to you. But before you look around and see what's available to you, you first need to know what you need in order for your dream to come to pass. Whether it's staffing, products, the service line, and anything else that you need, business, setting up the business, and things along that nature. So you need to find out all those things before you can start anything. Right now, we're also talking about, doing the viability testing of the idea to make sure that the idea that you have is workable. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over briefly again some of the things about the services side, because we focused a lot on the product side last week. And since we focused a lot on the product last week, we do need to give some credence to the service option. And so because we're going to do it on the service option side as well, we need to talk about that. So if you're going to provide a service, what type of service is it? What industry are you going to be in? I'm consulting, but I have some specific areas that I focus my consulting services on. One of our main things that we do is we provide government contracting support. And what that does is anyone who wants to become a government contractor, we help them to get all the certifications that they need, and we get them registered to be able to do business with the government. Then once they are registered to do business with the government, we can also help them to get the different certifications that they need, whether it's woman business owned, disadvantaged business, GSA, get on a GSA schedule, or become an 8A contractor. We help them to do that. So that's one area of focus that we do that's a part of our consulting services. But then we also have the services that we offer to businesses, and that is marketing, communications, business development, and some administrative aspects of it as well. So on the administration side, as well as administrative. So those are the things that you need to figure out. That's what we do. And then we also have the coaching. So for the coaching, what that entails is we offer to our customers life and business coaching services. That's when they are at not necessarily the startup stage, but the idea stage, or if they're mulling over the idea of becoming a entrepreneur, they can come to us and they can ask all the necessary questions that they need to ask to find out whether or not entrepreneurship is something that's for them. Okay. Once we do that, one of the things that we do is we also have to figure out what our areas of expertise is going to be. So you might have multiple services, but you should always have a area of expertise. And if you focus on the area of expertise, you can see what other service offerings that you can have that falls within that area of expertise. So instead of having all these different services all over the place, okay, let's do this here and do that there, and it's like the services are not complementary to each other. They don't mesh. They're all so separate. If they're going to be separate, they need to be in separate divisions, and they need to be tackled completely separately from each other. It's not something that you're going to want to lump all of that together. And so you're going to have to make a decision as if you're going to offer multiple service lines, but you're offering multiple service lines that do not coincide with each other, that does not mess with each other. You have to figure out the best way to go about offering those services and presenting those service offerings to people that they're going to be able to accept and digest, because you don't want anyone to think that you're the jack of all trade and you're the master of none. So you want to make sure that you're not going so broad and have so many service offerings that they're not going to take you seriously. Okay. Then you have to decide, even if just like on the product side, you're on the services side, you still have to decide whether or not you're going to be a one-man show or one-woman show, or you're going to have employees. Now, here is the thing about this day and age. Employees come in all shapes and sizes, and you can either have employees or you can work with people who are consultants or freelancers. Okay. So if you're going to work with consultants or freelancers, what that entails is you don't have to have someone that's in the office space with you if you have an office space, because even though you're offering a service, it does not mean that you're offering that service in an office, in an office building, in an office environment. You could also be offering that service, right, from home. It's a business that you set up from home. And so if you set up that business from home, you have to decide whether or not you're going to have employees working inside of your home. If you opt not to have employees, you can still work with freelancers and consultants that you work with them on a virtual level, meaning they don't have to be where you are. They are everywhere. Okay. And because they're everywhere, they can be everywhere and anywhere. So I have freelancers that I work with that are a part of my team. And I have freelancers all over the globe. I don't just have freelancers in the United States. Most of the people that I work with and I partner with are in countries that is not a U.S. territory. Okay, that is not in the United States. So I have people who work in the United States, and I have people who do not work in the United States. So they're international. So the people that I work with are all over the place. We have them in everywhere. You have access nowadays to people on all levels as in expertise. You have access to them, and you have access to people who are in other countries that have skill sets that it's not that you won't find them in the US, but you can get them at a lower rate in other countries, because you have to remember that there's just a difference between US dollars and say the yen or pesos or other countries money. So you have people on multiple levels in multiple countries that you can have access to them for different amounts of money. So make sure that you take advantage of having the ability to be able to go to work with people on a global level instead of just thinking, very linear. Linear thinking is going to keep you, grant you me, it might sound like a good thing, linear, you're going down a straight line. However, when it comes to who you work with and who you partner with, you don't want to be linear. You want to make sure that you know what all your options are, because knowing what all your options are going to be for your best, in your best interest. Not only because it gives you access to different people and different personalities and different cultures, but it's also going to help you when it comes to staying on budget. Okay, staying on budget, whatever the budget is for what you need done, you have a bigger pool of people to work from now versus putting out an ad for an employee to come in and work with you. If you are okay with having someone work on a virtual level, I suggest that that is something that you should take into account, and you should make that priority to look into getting someone on that level, whether it's virtual assistants or it's marketing, it's communications, it's technology, technology, IT, video, animation, all these different things. You have access to many more people than you can imagine. So just do your research when you're looking for the resources that you need in order to accomplish all the things that you need to accomplish for your company. It does not have to come through a single individual. It can come from multiple people that you gather them together, and you create a team around your company, with the intentions of them fulfilling the different needs that you have in order for your company to go in the direction that you need it to go. So when it comes to employees, don't just think about employees. I implore you to make sure that you also consider virtual people to work with on a virtual level, freelancers, consultants, virtual assistants, and things along that nature. Okay? And also, by all means, make sure that you take a look at microsites, for that has people who do different things that you need done, but they're on a microsite platform for where there's a lot of people that's on there. So take that into consideration as well. Okay. Um, okay. We also spoke about carving out a niche. Carving out a niche for your product might be a lot easier than necessarily carving out a niche for your service line. Because when you're carving out a niche for your service line, it's one thing if you only have one line of service. But if you have multiple lines of service that does not, as I said before, connect with each other, then you have to decide which one is going to take precedence. Okay? And the one that takes precedence for you, that's the one that you want to do your best to carve out a niche with. You can carve out niches with the different product lines, but it means that you will also have different targeting methods that you do to reach the customers that you need to reach for those different service lines. Okay? All right. We have on here, once you decide what you will be selling and why, you need to establish who you will sell your products and services to. This is where your market research is going to come into play. Market research. Market research is where you can either do it on your own, where you go on Google, or you use different search options on the internet to look up who your target market is based on the product or service line that you're offering. Okay? Or you can use a market research firm. Okay? If you're going to use a market research firm, then one of the things that you have available to you is their particular expertise, and they can gather the information that you need at a much quicker pace. But it's going to cost you whatever. I don't know what it's going to cost you. For everybody's different. Every project is different. So if you want to, you can speak with a market research firm. You can tell them what your needs are, and then they will help you to accomplish that which you need to accomplish, which is finding out all the things you need to find out about your specific market, who they are, what they do, what they buy, and things along that nature. And they will also help you to target all of that stuff down. Now, that's if you use someone else. We will talk about if you're going to do this yourself and how to go about doing it. And so that's what we're going to focus on right now. Right now, I'm going to tell you all the things that you need to do in order to do the market research that you need for yourself. I need you to hold on for one moment. I have a couple of questions that I see coming up. I need to review it so that I can respond to them. Okay? So one moment, please. Sorry that I'm going to have to come off screen for a minute. Okay, so Darla is, that's because I moved off screen. Okay, so Darla asked a question. She wanted me to go back to what I was talking about virtual, people who were working virtually. And okay, so I can talk about that a little bit more before I move on to the market research. So how that works is we have access to more, as I said, we have access to more than just regular employees, which is you hire them whether it's on a full-time basis or a part-time basis. And that's what we know as an employee, okay? But we no longer have to just look at them as people, as employees. We can work with them on an as needed basis, okay? We can formulate a team around your company, meaning you can still have people who are doing different functions within the company that you're building, but they don't have to be on site where you are, whether you're working from home or you have your own office space. These people are going to do all the things that you need done: build your website, host the website, provide any services that you might need for your customers. If you're a service-based company, they will do the work, but they don't have to do the work where you are. Okay? They can do the work where they are. There's no travel, which means you have access to people, say in Istanbul, India, Russia, Germany, all over the world. Okay? You will have access to people all over the world, which means the pool of skill sets and expertise has now opened up on a massive scale for you. So you don't have to just make do with what's available to you, immediately right in front of you within our own country. You don't have to do that, not even within our own country, because if you're thinking about hiring someone, you're going to want to hire locally, right? Because you need them to get to work and everything. You're going to have to hire locally. Well, what happens if you're trying to hire locally for a position for things that you need to get done, but the pool of people that you have, they don't have all of the skill sets that you necessarily need? Then you're going to have to go outside that area, right? You're going to have to go outside your local area. So if you have to go outside your local area anyway, why not open yourself up to work with people that's in different countries who still has the capabilities that you need, who are going to be willing to do the work that you need done because they want to get paid too. They have families to feed as well, and they're willing to do it at a much reduced rate. And you end up working out even better because you don't have to hire anyone full time. You don't have to pay any benefits to them. You don't have to sit on, sit on them on the clock the same way that you would if someone came to work for you in an office environment. Okay. So what you need to do is you can always have something set up where you know whether or not they're doing what they're supposed to be doing based on one of two things. You have a method to track them, so they're working within an environment that was built and set up for your company, where they go and they do the work that needs to be done within the environment that's set up on the, whether it's in the cloud or on an intranet. Okay. Or it's when they produce the work, if they do it in the time frame that it needs to be done in, they send the work on to you, then you know that this person knows exactly what they're doing, and they are able to do the work not just in their own time, but in a time in which they also have other customers that they work with, but everyone gets the work that they need to get on time and within the budget that each company has set for themselves. So what you're doing is you're not just paying this employee on your own. And it's not an employee, this, whether it's a freelancer, consultant, or whatever they want to call themselves, you as well as other people are paying them. So you're not you don't have to have that burden of a responsibility of, you have to always have something for them to do, and because you have to pay out this amount of money hourly every day. It doesn't work like that. You get to set up the fee schedule, and you guys get to come together and you create a fee-based plan, where this is how much you're going to pay out for particular projects, or if you're going to have them to give you X amount of hours per month and this is how much we're going to pay. There's different methods that you can set up in order to be able to work with freelancers or consultants that are out and virtual assistants that are not working in the same environment and where you are. They're not working in your office or working in your home. If you have a home-based business, they're not in your home or in your office space. So if you already have a company that's set up and you have employees already, but you have projects that come up time and time again, and you need people to be able to do these projects, they're really short term or whatever, then take the opportunity to go to some of these platforms that's out there and hire a consultant or a freelancer or virtual assistant or social media expert to do what needs to be done for your company. So I hope that I explained that. Let's see. Yep. Okay, you're welcome. So now that we have that taken care of, what we're going to go to now is we're going to go back to targeting the business customers. Okay. Now, as I said, you can go with a market research firm, but if you do not have the budget for a market research firm and you have to do the research yourself, then here are some of the things that you need to take into account when you're doing your market research to make sure that you do as complete of a research project as you possibly can. Okay? You don't want to just gloss over it. You don't want to just whoosh past it, because it's really important. Because if you don't know who your target market is, you're going to miss the mark. Whether it's a product or a service, you're going to miss the mark. You're going to be marketing to people who don't want what you have to offer. So it's really important that you do not, it's very, very important that you do not gloss over the market research side of it. It's very important. So there are three types of customers, and we spoke a little bit about this last week, right? We have the primary, secondary, tertiary. Your primary is the purchaser. Your secondary will be the influencer, and your tertiary would end up being the end user. Okay? So you have, I will go intermittently between the two things, whether it's purchaser, influencer, end user, or primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, so I'm going to go in between the two so that you'll know by the end of this particular workshop, you'll know what these three things are as they pertain to your target market, and then as they pertain to your competitors when we get to the competitors side portion of the workshop. Okay, the purchaser is the person who's going to buy your product or services. That's your primary target. Okay, your secondary target is also called the influencer. The influencer is going to be the person or persons that's going to help the purchaser make the decision as to whether or not they're going to get the item, the product, or the service that you offer. So if it's a product, they're going to help them to make a decision as to whether they should buy that or not, whether it's something on the low end or the high end. And it depends on whether you're targeting the type of business that you're in is a business to customer or business to business. So business to business is called B&B. B&B, when you hear someone say B&B, that's business to business, meaning my business offers either products or services to another business, to another entity. If I'm a business to consumer, then I'm a business who offers services to consumers, clients, and customers. Okay? And they're different. They're different. They have different purchasing styles. They have different purchasing methods. And so when you're going after these two different markets, you're going to market to them in completely different ways. You have customers, you have businesses. When you have these two markets, it's very important for you to know that you have to market to these two entities in completely different ways, because they buy differently, they make decisions differently, they spend differently. Okay, so that's why it's really important for you to figure out who your target market is, because your target market is going to lay you into two sections: business to consumer or business to business. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to make a decision on, is which one you fall into. But you can also still fall into both. Don't think that just because you sell strictly to other businesses that there won't be opportunities for you to be able to sell to customers that are not business entities. Okay, it all depends on your product or service line. So take for instance, now let's use this as an example. It's you are a company who provides marketing services. Not only do you provide marketing services, you don't just market people as you go out and you promote them or you promote their business. You don't just create collateral pieces, which are letterheads, business cards, postcards, posters, things along that nature. But you also handle web development, social media. You also help them to create social media plans and things along that nature. Now, if you are in the business of doing that, you can make a decision as to who you want your target market to be. You can either decide to go with just consumers, or you can decide to go with businesses. But your third option is if you want to go with both consumers and businesses, so that you'll have a bigger pool of people to market your product or services to. Now, let's say that you go with the third option. You didn't go with just marketing to consumers. You didn't just go with marketing to businesses. You opted to market to both. Well, if you're going to market to both, you fall in line in the third option. And as a person who as a business that falls into the third option, now what you have to do is you have to develop a marketing strategy that's twofold. It's no longer one fold where you have a straight line as to where you want to go. It's no longer linear. You deviate it because you have two different markets that you're going to be promoting your services and or products to. Okay? And so you have to approach it on a different level. You can't talk to a person the same way you talk to a business. because the person, a regular person, is not going to understand all the things that you want to say when you're directing the message that you have written for a business. You're then using that same message to direct it at a regular consumer. It's not going to work because their mind don't work the same way. They don't use the same terminologies, and they don't purchase things in the same manner. Okay, businesses, not all of them, but have a more structured way of how they go about purchasing products or services from other companies. They have a system in place. A regular consumer, the likelihood of them having a system, highly unlikely. They go based off of cost. A lot of them off of cost, and if it's not cost, it's who has the better, not offer, but the better product or the better service. Who's going to do right by me? So when it comes to regular consumers, they tend to use their emotions far more than companies do. Companies try their best not to use their emotions when they're making purchases. When they make purchasing decisions, they make it from a well thought out mindset, because they have a specific thing that they need, whether it's a product or service. They have a specific need. They know what their needs are. They know what they need to have done. What they need is, they have a determination between them as to whether or not they're looking for a deal. So it's whether or not you can meet whatever their budget is, or quality. So for them, it's either going to be money driven or quality driven. That's for a business. But when it comes to a regular consumer, the quality and the budget don't necessarily go hand in hand. They don't necessarily make their decisions in that way. They're more on an emotional level. So you have to reach them on an emotional level. So your message when you're targeting these people, your message will be completely different to a consumer than it will be to a business person. Okay? So that helps you to figure out. We're talking about the purchaser, which is the primary target market that you'll be going after, and how you make a determination as to which one you're going to go after. I couldn't just tell you, okay, you have the primary target market is the purchaser, and the purchaser can be a consumer or the purchaser can be a business, and you have to make the decision between the two. I can't just give you the information like that, because that's just one aspect of it. You also have to know how they purchase, their habits, the way that they choose to purchase products or services. You want to know the difference, and in knowing the difference, it's going to help you to make a decision as to who you want to go after. Now, for many of you, the product or the service offering the idea that you have, or the company that you already have, probably already made that determination for you. But if it did, okay. But if it didn't, we're talking about doing the market research at this juncture. So if you're doing the market research and you're already in business, you're going backwards, right? We're talking about going in a forward moving motion right now. So that would be a workshop for another day for someone who's already in existence and who has been in business for a while. You wouldn't be doing your market research now. That's something that you would have done before. So market research is important for you to do it in the idea stage. That's why, so you have an idea, what now, right? What now is you have to figure out who your target market is. And right now we're speaking about the primary target market. And so your primary target market is either going to be consumers, so it's going to be business to consumer or business to business. And so that's the option that you have for your primary target market, and making the decision as to who you're going to target. Okay. Now the secondary, which is the influencer, you don't really target them. The message is still the same message that they receive. that you send out to the purchaser. They just help the purchaser to make a decision as to whether or not they think it's a good buy or a good fit, whether it's coming from the business to business side or the consumer side. We've all been there on the consumer side where we go with someone to the mall and they pick something up and the first thing they say is, what do you think? Right? It's the same thing. So the person that they're speaking to, when they say, what do you think? The person asking, what do you think? That's the purchaser. That's your primary target market. The person who is going to respond as to what do you think, they are the secondary market. They are the influencer. And they will say, I don't know. Let's see. And then they go through their method to figure out whether or not they want to tell you if it's a good idea or a bad idea to get that particular product. They do the exact same thing on the service side. They do the exact same thing on the service side. If you can get a hold of the influencer, if you can help to make the influencer's life decision easier, make their decision easier, you will have the purchaser hands down. You're not just going after the purchaser. You also want to make sure that your message captures, your message, product, or service captures the acceptance of the influencer as well. Because the influencer, just the fact that they're an influencer means that they have a high standing when it comes to the purchaser as to, if this person say no, then I'm not going to do it. If they say yes, then more than likely I'm going to do it. Right? It's not a absolute, but if they're asking them the question, then that means they have some clout. They're in their ear. They get to help make those decisions. So it's really important that one of the things that you do is to ensure that your message, your product, or your service is easily translated to the influencer as well, to help them to make an easy decision so that they can help the purchaser to make their final decision in the end. The tertiary, or in this case, the end user, well, I say this: the likelihood of you setting up your marketing message to specifically target them might not be the easiest thing possible. The only thing that I can say is you make it look good to them to have it, right? Because the end user could be the primary, but they could also just be the end user. Last week, the example that I gave was the end user can be a child. Why? Because the child does not make the purchases. And the end user, the child, could also be the secondary, which is the influencer, because some children do have influence with their parents as to whether or not a purchase is going to be made. So the end user can also be the influencer, but they also can not be, which is why they're placed in the end user, the tertiary side of it, right? So the parent is the primary target market. Even though the kids are the target, you have to market not only to the kids, but you also have to market to the parents to let them know that, deals. This is how clothing stores do it. Children's clothing store. They market, and their marketing messages are twofold. Their marketing messages are to the kids, because they get to see the commercials with all the fun stuff, colorful things, all the great things that, music, all the great things that kids like. So the kids' imagination and their sensitivity gets heightened. So I want that. But no matter how much I want that there is, they also know they have to market to the parents, because the parents are the primary. The parents are the purchasers, right? The parents are the purchasers. And so because the parents are the purchasers, they also have to make it appealing to the parents as well. So what they tend to do is they tend to go on quality or value. Okay? And so that's how the business of marketing works. That's how, when you do your market research, that's how you find out whether, who who falls in line in these three slots, because it can be different. The kids can also be the purchasers. The kids can be the influencers. The kids can be the purchasers. The kids can be in the tertiary. It's just different. The most important thing for you to remember is what each one of these different target markets mean and what their needs are. So for the primary is going to be value based or quality based. Influencer is either going to be quality based, value based, or something interesting. There needs to be something different, something interesting that's going to make the influencer say yay or nay to your product or service. And then for the tertiary, as I said, for them, they end up being the, let's stop using tertiary for a second, end user. The end user, the person who ends up having to either wear or use the product or service that you're offering, they have their own needs as well. They might not want to be in the decision making aspect of it, and sometimes they're not, because if it's a business to business, the end user of the product don't even have to be within the company that you're selling it to. If you're a business selling to another business and you're offering products or services, you're offering products or services that that particular business can be offering to their customers. So their customers end up being the end user. Their customers end up being the tertiary. And their customers don't necessarily have that same information that you have. They don't know about you, right? When it comes to business, the end user, they don't know about you. But what you are going to know is, you are going to know from the company, the business that you're working with, what their end users' needs are going to be, meaning what that company needs to happen for their customers, for their clients, and how you're going to help them to meet that need. Okay? So this is going to help you, and this should help you in figuring out which market your product or service is going to go after, whether it's one, whether it's two, or whether it's three, whether you're going to go for your primary and secondary, or you're going to attempt to go for primary, secondary, and tertiary. Most people, or purchaser, influencer, end user, I would say for businesses, for them to pretty much focus on your primary and your secondary. The end user, unless the end user is going to be on, the end user is your customer, then you won't necessarily be targeting them, because you do have to remember, if your product or service is going to a consumer, it's different. If your product or service is going to another business, then that's different. The end user, it won't necessarily be the business that you're selling that product to. The end user can be the customer of that company. So you may not know who the end user is going to be. You just offer a product or service, and they purchase that product or service for their own needs. Okay? So figuring out who falls in line in these different ones. It's not that you're going to target them, but you do need to know who they are. You need to know who falls into the purchaser slot. You need to find out who falls into the influencer spot, and you need to know who falls into the end user spot for your product or service line that you have offering, that you're going to bring into the marketplace. You need to know who the people are that's going to fall within these different targeting areas. Okay, you need to find out. You need to know. You can't just gloss over it, and you can't just assume either. You do need to know these things. You really do need to know. Your research plan. I'm going to tell you all the things that your research plan, well, not all of them, but they need to include These four major things: objectives and goals of your market research. You need to have objectives and you need to have goals. And the questions and answers, as you ask yourself these questions and you find answers for all the questions that you have, then it needs to help you to reach the goals that you have set for your market research. What's your goal? What's going to be your goal? Your goal could be something as simple as to know who my primary target market is, how much money they spend, what do they spend their money on, and what their buying and spending habits are. Okay, that can be your goal. And your objective is to ask all the questions that you need to ask in order to get to the answer of that goal. So your objective is to ask the right questions, find the answers so that you can get the answers that you need to meet your goal. How are you going to go about marketing to these people? Okay, if they have you want to know what your primary target market is, and say you want to know what their spending habits are, how much money they spend. Why do you need to know that? What are you going to do with that information? Once you find that information, what are you going to do with that information? How is it going to have an effect on you deciding whether or not you're going to go with this particular target market? Well, you need to know how much they spend so that you can figure out whether or not this target market is where you belong. Is it going to generate the revenues that you have set forth and the goals that you have for yourself and your company? You have a specific amount of money that you want to bring in each year, each month, or whatever. Grant me, you don't want to be money driven all the time. You want to be goal driven, and goals doesn't necessarily just mean revenue based, but having a specific revenue stream that you want to have this amount of revenue come into your company on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a yearly basis is always a good thing to have, because you have that goal, and then everything that you do needs to lead up to that goal. And as to whether or not you meet it, that's going to let you know what you need to tweak within your marketing and your operations plan for your company. Your objectives and goals of your market research needs to be done. Who you are conducting, why are you conducting a market research? You need to ask yourself that question. Why are you conducting the market research that you are? Well, one of the answers to that is you want to know who your target market needs to be so that you're marketing to the right group of people who are going to purchase the products that you have on offer, or who is going to purchase the services that you have on offer. Because you don't just want to throw it out there to anybody and everybody, because then no one will come. But if you have a more targeted message, a more targeted purpose, a more targeted objective, a more targeted goal, then you will be able to meet those goals. You will be able to find the right people who are going to help you to meet those objectives and those goals. Okay? What do you want to learn? In the market research that you're going to be doing, what do you want to learn? Well, we already went over a couple of those things. One of the things that you're going to want to learn is you want to learn who your target market is. You want to know who your primary, who your secondary, and who your tertiary. Or you want to know who your purchasers are, who your influencers are, who your end users are. Those are some of the things that you're going to want, as the what do you want to learn? You want to learn who those people are. You also want to learn what their spending habits, are. You want to learn when do they spend the money and what do they spend money on. Are they high-end purchasers, low-end purchasers? These are all the things that you want to know, and it will help you when you do your market research to find out who these people are and what they spend their money on. You won't know until you do your research. And you can do your research and you can find all of this out online whenever you want to. Okay? I would suggest that all the questions that you have, that they need to be able to give you an objective opinion about your idea. Tailor all the questions to really give you the answers that you need, not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, what you need to know in order to make the best decision possible as to whether or not your idea is worth continuing forward. Okay, we can always pretend and make our decisions so easy to go with what we want to go with by asking questions that we think we already know the answers to, and then we write those answers down so that they line up with what we want. But you don't want to put down answers that line up with what you want. You want to put down answers, and you want to ask questions that's going to give you an objective overview of your idea. When we have ideas, we get so it's like we get married to it, and it's our baby, and we nurse it, and we feed it, and we hug it, and we love it, and it's our idea, and it's the greatest idea in the world, right? And that's fine, and everyone should think that their idea is the greatest idea in the world. But when it comes to figuring out whether or not it's in your best interest to go after that idea, you want to do it in an objective way. You don't want to do it where you're the only one who's going to want your product, because you created all these scenarios and you didn't ask the right questions, and you just answered it in the way that you wanted to answer it so that it soothed you, but it didn't do you any good, because the product that you decided to bring out to the market, the marketplace don't want it, they don't need it, or they're not ready for it. Okay, so it's really important that the questions that you ask are objective, the answers that you give are the truth, and you remain objective even though it's your idea. Look at it when you're doing the market research, even though it's your idea, look at it in this way. Pretend that it's someone else's idea and do the research in that way. It's not yours, it's someone else's. And that way you'll remain objective, and you won't be married and try to twist and turn questions or answers to suit what you want to happen in the end. Okay? So step back away from the idea and evaluate it on with an objective perspective, because that's the only way you're going to bring the right product or right service into the right marketplace. The objective is to find the right marketplace, and it may not be where you want to go. It may be something else or somewhere else, but at least you'll know. Remain objective, and it will help you out in the end. Performing your market research will help you to cut down on untold amounts of wasted money. I won't say most, but many entrepreneurs or small business owners, we have these ideas, and then we jump and we pounce right on those ideas, and we don't really do any research on it. We just find the idea, we think it's the best idea, and so we go with that, right? So we go with that, and then what ends up happening is we bring a product or a service into a marketplace that's not ready or is not right for what we have. And we're spending all this money on marketing to this marketplace and these targets that we've created, and we're not seeing the return on the investment that we made marketing wise. And then we get upset and we start to think, okay, what went wrong? Well, what went wrong is your message might be wrong. Your target market might be wrong, right? Or it might be the wrong time, right product, wrong time. Maybe you didn't carve out a niche. Maybe you didn't do the, if you didn't do the market research, then you wouldn't be able to really come up with an idea of a way to carve out a niche for yourself, so that you get really focused and really specific as to who your product is going to go to, especially if it's a extremely unique product that is not used on a regular level, where everyone is not going to go after that product or service line that you have on offer. It's tailor-made and unique for a specific group of people. Well, if you didn't figure out who those specific group of people were or are, then you're going to miss the mark. Your marketing is going to miss the mark. You're going to miss the mark, and you're going to be missing out on the opportunity to take your product or service line to the right group of people. And you're going to be losing out on any money that you spent marketing to all the wrong people. Okay? Performing your market research will help you gain an understanding and unique perspective of your market, and it will allow you to determine how viable your idea is. Once you complete your market research, once you complete your market research and once you complete the targeting of your consumer or your customer aspect of your market research, you'll be able to tell whether or not what you initially had in mind, who you thought your target market is, was that who it ended up being? The niche that you thought you were going to carve out, if you had any idea on a niche, is it what ended up happening? Okay? You thinking that your idea would work and it's going to come out and it's going to make a great big splash with the research that you did. Is it going to make a great big splash? These are all things that you're going to find out as you go through the process of doing the market research to find out whether or not your idea is viable. And there's different things and different steps and different processes that you go through to find this information out. And it might seem like it's a long process, but it's going to take as long as it's going to take, whether it has to deal with the amount of time that you put in or the amount of funding that you have, if you have funding to let someone else do that for you. Okay? Another thing that it will help you do is if you find out that your idea is not necessarily viable, or you think it's not necessarily viable, one of the things that can happen is you can fine tune that idea. If it's not going to work, if you find out that it's not going to work, right? It doesn't mean that it won't work, period. Maybe you just need to rethink the idea, find a new target market, tweak the idea a bit so that it can fit within a specific market, so that you can still bring your idea into the marketplace, just not in the way that you initially wanted to do it. Maybe down the line, once you become known, you can then branch off and do things the way you wanted to. But in order to initially get your market, get your product or service or both into the marketplace, you might have to tweak it a little bit so that it's more acceptable to the people that do use or want that product or service. Okay? Another thing that can happen is it can take your idea back to the drawing board. It might say to you, stop, we can't do that right now. Go back to the drawing board. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200, right? It might tell you that. And then you have to go back to the drawing board with the idea. And then you have to figure out whether or not you're going to toss the idea completely, or you're just going to rework it or save it for another time in which maybe it will work out better in that space and time. Okay? So that's something that can happen. I'm not saying it will, but you always want to know the different possibilities, the different things that can happen. And that is something that can happen. Okay? Okay. Here are some of the things that you're going to find out about your ideal customer in the market research report that you're going to compile. Now, remember when we went over the three distinctions, the three markets. Let's the three customer types. So take that back. The three customer types, right? Of those three customer types, you can make a decision as to, okay, you find out all that information on these three customers. Then you make a decision as to who your ideal customers are. Now, your ideal customers are going to be within those three things. But then you break it down a little bit more. Then it comes more into line with, before I go on to my notes, I'm just going to give you an overview. It can come more in line with this. How much money, how much income is in that household, right? So you start really targeting it down. It's the same way that you do ads, whether it's Facebook ad, Google ads, or any of these things. You get to fine tune who you're looking for. You're trying to fine tune it so that you get to your ideal consumer. Age falls in line with this. Income, spending habits, and it even goes as far as what they do in their pastime, right? So lifestyle comes into play as well. So all these things actually do go into your market research, and in these different customer types that you have, and in these different markets that you can get into, who your target market is, right? All of it comes into play. People's whole life comes into play when you're trying to figure out who they are and what it is that they do, and are they going to want what you have to offer. And all of it comes into play with what they do in their pastime, how much money that they earn, what do they spend their money on, when they spend their money on things, why they spend. You do get the whys, why they spend money on the things that they spend money on, how much they spend money, how much they spend monthly, yearly, what their religious background are, if they have a religious background, how much money do they earn. All these things come into play when you're trying to find out who your target market is. And if you're a local business, then you can add on top of their geographic area. All these things come into play in finding out who your ideal target market is, okay? Who your ideal customer are. So when we say target market, that's who your customers are, okay? Who they are, the industry that they're in, demographics information, age, gender, race, ethnicity, education, occupation, and income, just like I said. So you get the demographics. And I did not say age, I did not say gender, and I surely didn't say race or ethnicity, but that is a big plus as well. That is something that's going to come up, and that's information that you're going to get. You're going to get the information on them, on all these things. You're pretty much going to have a statistics sheet on the group of people, different groups of people, to figure out which one of these groups that you want to choose as your target market. Okay. Geographic location, as we said, if you're local, you're going to target it locally. If you're not local, then you target it based on country, state, city, mobile workers, lifestyle settings, whether they're rural areas, suburban areas, urban areas. All those things come into play. Psychographic information. What psychographic information? Psychographic has to do with your personality and your personality traits. That's psychographic information that are picked up on just about everyone, and it's housed in a database. It tells a lot about you, some of the things that it tells about you is, and when I say you, I'm not talking about you specifically, even though, yes, it's about you, just like it's about me, it's about your customers, period. Psychographic information is going to be things like the attitudes that they have, beliefs that they hold, life experiences, their needs, their desires, and more. That's what's going to fall in line with the psychographic information that you're going to get when you're doing your market research. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to do you want to find out information on the consumer, the customer base, the buying patterns, the habits, the frequency, loyalty, and willing to use various purchasing options. Now, you have some people, when they say willing to use various purchasing options, this one is very interesting. And the reason why it's interesting is because not the age that we're in, the technology age that we're in, you do have to remember you have the baby boomers, you have the ones that came before the current set of baby boomers, and then you have the younger generation, you have the youth and things along that nature. Now, the younger demographics and some of the baby boomers, we are willing to purchase products online. We do the whole take our cell phone, walk up to a cash register, swipe our cell phone, boop, pay for our things, keep it moving. We will allow someone to where we purchase a product or service from them and they have one of those little card readers and they swipe our cards and we keep it moving. But not everyone is comfortable with that. You still have customers who they don't buy online because they don't want anyone stealing their information. They still write checks. They still want to feel protected and don't want to feel vulnerable. So you have to, that is what they mean when they say willing to use various purchasing options, because that's something that's going to fall in line with your consumer data that you're going to build up. You're going to find out whether or not, they make ATM purchase, not ATM. They use their debit cards to make purchases, whether they use credit cards, the rate they use credit cards, checking, wire transfers, all these things comes into your market research. When you do your market research, this is one of the things that comes into play. This is information that you get. And when you gather all this information and then more, you get a complete view of your ideal target market when it comes to your consumer, your customer, whether it's business to consumer or business to business. And then a part of that is also your competition. When you're doing this market research and everything, it's not just for who you're going to sell to. It's also who you're going to be competing with. So you're getting a bird's eye view of the land. You're getting a bird's eye view of the lay of the land. Okay, so you're gonna find out everything that you need to find out about your consumers, and you're gonna find out everything you need to find out about some of your competitors. You won't find out all of them because there are many, but you're gonna want to find your major competitors as well. Okay. Once you establish who your market is, then you're going to be able to go through the process of breaking it down into smaller groups. When you break it down into smaller groups, it's called market segmentation. This is where now you take that broad perspective that you got when you gathered all this material. It gives you a broad perspective because it gives you everyone, right? So now that you have everyone and you find out what all these different people's buying habits are, what it is that they do, what it is that they want, and all of that, right? Race, religion, spending habits, purchasing options, all those things. Once you find out all those things, then you gather all that material up, and then what you do is you break them down into smaller pieces. You break them down into smaller groups, and that is called market segmentation. When you break them down into smaller groups, it gives you a more focused and a much better look at the at your different target markets and who really falls into what. And from that breakdown, that from that market segmentation, you will be able to figure out who your primary and ideal target market is going to be. That's how you find that out. That's how you're going to find out in the end who you want to go after and what your message is going to be to them. You're going to find out who your ideal target market is, but then you're going to find out who your primary target market is. You're going to find out who your secondary target market is, and you're going to find out who your tertiary target market is. And I know I might have confused you a bit when I broke it down in the beginning, where I said, purchasers, influencers, and I did purchasers, influencers, end users, and I said you break that down into primary, secondary, and tertiary. Not necessarily, and that was probably the wrong way to go about presenting it. In the end, you will find out who your primary target market is, who your secondary target market is, and who your tertiary target market is. You will find that out in the end once you complete that market segmentation. And that's what's going to give you the ability to figure out how you're going to go about marketing to these different segments. How you're going to go about marketing to the different groups, whether you're going to go and who you're going to go after, whether you're just going to choose two of the three or you're going to go after all three. You'll be able to have a much more focused plan and create a much more focused plan and have a better idea once you go down into the smaller groups and you do that market segmentation of the bigger market research that you initially did. Okay? I do want you to know that we are going to have future videos that speaks to market segmentation and what all of that entails. But honestly, I'm not going to go down that path right now, because right now all I'm doing is I'm going over, and this is, even though it might not seem like a brief overview, this is just a brief overview of the things that need to be done in the idea stage. I'm not going into details of everything that you need to do. I'm just giving you an idea of the things that you do need to do during the course of this stage. Okay? Now we're going to go to analyzing the competition. Everybody, every company, every idea is going to have a competitor. It's going to have a competitor that either has the exact product or a similar product. And that exact or similar product will be on the higher end, the lower end, or right down in the middle. Okay? Not every idea, because there are still some unique ideas that come out that have not been done yet. And, those come few and far in between. Actually, what we see more and more in the era that we're in is we have more and more people who, for the products and services that are already in existence, we have people who focus on making those ideas or products, those products or services better. Right? So the idea will come in to say, I know how to make this product better. I know how to make this service. I know how to do this service and do it better. Whether it's a restaurant and you think, oh, I can do it better than this one because my ingredients are going to be different, and this is how we're going to be different. This is how we're going to be unique. You're still going to have a competitor for the product or service that you want to bring into the marketplace. Okay, and that's how you're going to know that you have who your competitors are and how they compete with you. They're your competitors when they sell the product that you're selling. They're your competitor when they not just sell the product that you're selling, but sell it then you break it down as to whether they're selling it at a higher rate than you do, a lower rate than you want to, or they're selling it at the same rate that you're going to sell it on. Because then it helps you not only to figure out who your competitors are, it also will help you to make a determination as to how you're going to compete against that competitor. Okay. Your competitors, what you're going to want to know is you have to give attention to them. You're going to want to find out how long they have been in the marketplace that you're trying to penetrate. You need to know who they are, how much of a market share that they have on that industry. You want to know the level of control that they have on the consumers in that industry. You want to know where they stand according to their customers. So while you're doing research on your competitors, once you find out who your competitors are, then you need to do the next step. You need to go and you need to find reviews to find out what their customers actually think about them, because that's going to help you out a great deal. That's going to help you out a great deal to know who your customers are and why you're going to be able to go up against them based on the responses that you get from their customers. Because the responses could be, they're great, this is a wonderful company, but you'll also have people who say, well, their service was slow, their product was inferior. You'll have positive things that's being said about the company, you'll have negative things that's being said about the company. But to know what's being said about the company, whether it's positive or negative, will be able to give you the ability to do something about it. So you get to fill a need that they're not filling. Okay. So that's why it's important to find out who your competitors are. Not just find out who they are, but find out what their customers are saying about them, because you'll be able to find out how you can slip in and grab a piece of their market share. You can grab a piece of their market share by filling a need that they are not filling, based on the reviews of their customers. And don't take one review and stop there. No, you take your reviews from multiple places. You need to make sure you get as many reviews as possible for that company. If you do have the money, one of the things that I would suggest is that you get a D&B report pulled on them, right? It's called Dun and Bradstreet. And not just Dun and Bradstreet, you also want to get a Better Business, BB&B. You want to get a BBB report pulled on them as well from the Better Business Bureau, to see if the Better Business Bureau have any information on them, if they've had any, a lot of complaints or things along that nature. Those reports will have that information for you. The information from the Dun and Bradstreet, you can get it as much as, depending on how much you're willing to spend, you can get specific information. You can get a lot of different information on the company, down to how much income that they've pulled in for the last year, or 5 or 10 years, their customer demographics information, things along that nature. Men, their statistics, whether most of their customers are men, women, children, all these different things you can get really targeted down on your competitors from Dun & Bradstreet, as well as other consumer reporting companies as well. So you have your choice as to who you want to get that information from, if you want to get that information. If you don't want to spend that money and you just want to go with what you were able to find, then that's okay as well. Okay, you don't have to. Okay, I don't want you to feel as if you have to pay for anything. If you're willing to do the work yourself, as long as you're going to do the work, then I'm all fine for that. As long as you do the work. Okay. As I said, you want to find out what they're doing right. You want to find out what they're doing wrong. And that's going to come into play when you look at the reviews from their customers. Okay. A complete strategy is something that you're going to want to create, and you're going to spell out how you're going to intend on gaining a piece of the market share that they currently have. So that's what you're going to do when you're analyzing your competition. When you're analyzing your competition, we're going to do a brief overview again. You're finding out who they are. You're going to find out your majors. You're going to find out your minors. So you're going to find out who your primary competitors are, your secondary competitors are, and your tertiary competitors. Your primary competitor, the one who sells exactly the same product that you sell. Your secondary, they also sell the same thing that you sell. The primary, same exact thing, maybe higher, maybe lower. Secondary, almost the same thing, complementary to what you sell, right? It might be the same thing, but it might be an inferior. And it might be an inferior product, or it might be a better product. Okay? That's your secondary. Your secondary, they can go either which way. They sell almost the same thing that you sell. They don't sell the exact same thing. They sell almost the same thing that you sell, and it can be on whether it's an inferior product or it's a better product, high end, low end. Okay, that's your secondary. And your tertiary, as we already explained, that your tertiary sells more than what you sell, and they will be able to give you an idea of how to go about integrating a bunch of different other products in your product line. Your tertiary market competitors, it's not that they don't sell what you sell. They probably sell something complementary to what you sell or comparable to what you sell, right? But not specifically what you sell. So if you sell, they might sell intimate apparels, but you might sell bras. But intimate apparels are bras, so they will sell bras, but they don't specialize in bras. So that's what the tertiary are. Okay? So we're going to go over it again. Your primary competitors offer the exact products or services that you intend on providing. Your secondary competitors offer a higher or lower end version of the product or service that you offer. One of the things that I said to you sell bras, your competitor are other bra stores, but your secondary can also be the intimate apparel store, like Victoria's Secrets, where they sell bras, but they sell other things as well. But it also brings you into the tertiary market because they do the same thing. They just don't sell exactly what you're selling. They sell other products that complements what you're already selling, but they expand it upon what you sell as well. So you can still consider them your competitor because they can and will at some time have the products that you have, just not to the level in which you have it. Okay? You want to place your competitors for each group in levels. The levels will be determined on how often you're going to come up against them, right? So how often are you going to come up against, say, if you're a product store, Target, Amazon, Victoria's Secrets, these different things. How often do you think you're going to be competing against them for someone to purchase the product that you have? So if you have bras, how many, what's the level of competition that you're going to have against the likes of Victoria's Secrets or the likes of Kmart or Walmart or Target, right? So you're going to want to know that. You're going to want to know how many people go to Walmart and all these other stores for their bras. If bras is what you sell, how is this who you're going to be competing against for the most part? And if so, then you have to come up with a strategy on how you're going to set yourself apart. What's going to make you unique? That niche that we spoke about, how you're going to carve that out so that you can compete against them and take and maintain the market share on that. Okay. One of the things that I said it already, and I'll say it again, your marketing message to your customers will differ as you come up to direct competition with your competitors within this group as well. And it will, because if you're consistently coming up against Victoria's Secrets, your marketing message is not just going to be the regular old message that you would try to sell, you try to put out to them. You're competing against the likes of Victoria's Secrets. So your product needs to be, if your product is inferior, then you're going to be pushing the value aspect of it. But not just the value aspect of it. If it's going to be the value aspect of it, it also needs to be value with some style. So you need to make sure that you do something, whether you have products where it's a cheaper version bra, but it's really cute, and it comes with these cute panties, right? So you're gonna have to, when you do your marketing messages, you're gonna tailor it to whoever you're competing against. You're gonna match it up to who you're competing against. What are they saying about their product? Then whatever they're saying about their product, you need to have a comparable message that you're saying about your product as well. That that means whether it's inferior or superior to what your competitors are selling, you need to make sure you sell your product. Okay, don't let them beat you out on selling your product. It's your product. So take that into consideration. Once you gather the information on your competition, you're going to have a list. You want to at least, I'm just going to say this. If you're going to, when, not if, but when you do your competition, when you scope out your competition, you need to gather at least 4 competition, or at least 3 in each in each group. You really do. You want to find at least 3 in each group: primary, secondary, tertiary. You really do. You want to find at least 3 people within those groups, because that's going to help you figure out how to market to those specific groups. It's going to help you. You get to look at their marketing message, see what they're saying to their customers, and then, I mean, if it works, it works. So you can kind of look at what they're doing and do something similar with a little twist of you, right? You don't have to recreate the wheel. If they already created a wheel that works, then take what works, tweak it to suit you, your personality. When I say you, your business, tweak it to fit your business personality, your business style, and make it, and that's how you market to the consumers, where they will find a familiarity within the message. So they're more apt to listen than for something to be completely different than what they've grown accustomed to hearing. Okay? So you can help steer them towards your product in that way. So you do it gently. Gently. Okay? Then one of the things that you're going to do once you find out who your competition is. So you remember, you want to have at least 3 in each group. So once you have those, then what you do is you put together a SWOT analysis. And what a SWOT analysis is, this analysis is your strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. SWOT. Strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. Strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. Okay? You're going to put together a SWOT analysis of these different groups of competitors. Okay? You're going to do that for a specific reason. But what you're going to do is you're going to create a SWOT analysis sheet, and it can be something that's fairly simple. You can always go and get a template that's already made up for you. Go ahead and get a template that's already made up for you online, or actually I will have a template available for you on the resources, the Build a Business Resource Center tab on my website, www.gailahenry.com. Just go there. You'll find the Build a Business link on the menu, and you click on there and you'll be able to go in there and you'll find the Build a Business Resource Center. Be patient. We're building that resource center out simply because this is a program that has recently been developed to help based on customers, my clients who are saying that they'd like some help outside of, the business relationship that we have. And so hence Build a Business Workshop was created. So I will have some templates for you to be able to just come in and download off of the site and grab that, in whether it's going to be not sure whether it's going to be Excel or PDF or Word. We'll get that all together and I'll have that to you I'll have that on the website by next week. Okay. So by Wednesday of next week, it should be up on the site. Everything is getting built out. So be patient. Okay. So we're going to have a SWOT analysis template there for you to be able to take that and then use it to help yourself. So the SWOT analysis, what's going to happen is it's going to help you determine your ideas or companies, your strengths, your weaknesses, as I said, your opportunities and available to you, and the threats that you're going to come up with when it pertains to your competition. Okay. Then when you are aware of all these things as it pertains to your competition, you will be much more prepared to successfully be able to compete in the marketplace and carve out a space for yourself within the marketplace for your product or service that you're offering. You can't really carve out a space for yourself in the marketplace without knowing who your competition is and what you do better than them, what you don't do better than them, which are your weakness. So what you do better than them, or what you're going to do better than them, what you are able to do now, the skill sets, the experience, and everything that you have currently. You're in the idea stage. So everything that you have right now, as it pertains to your competition, how do you match up to them? And you're going to have to be honest about that. We're not talking about where you're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about where you are right now. Because you could be, the idea that you came up with, it doesn't have to be something that just came to you. You could have been in an industry, whether it's service-based or product-based, and you decided that the company you work for, they weren't doing things the way that you can do things better, right? And so you came up with an idea to do this particular thing. So you came with skill sets and experience. So that's a plus, right? But there's also people who don't have skill sets or experience in what they're trying to do. And because they don't have skill sets or experience in what they're trying to do, they will have probably more weaknesses than strength. But you may have more strength than weaknesses, right? Or you might just have a balance of both. This is how you're going to figure out how you match up to the competitors that you're about to go up against. Okay? You have to be really honest. You have to be really honest about what it is that you know, what it is that you do, how much experience you have, the skill sets that you currently have, the education that you have behind you, and things along that nature. That's going to help you to put yourself, to figure out when it comes to your strengths and your weaknesses, you'll be able to have answers to that based on your skill sets, your experience, and the knowledge that you bring to your idea and to the business that you're about to create. So within the SWOT analysis, you're going to compare yourself, your company, it's kind of sort of going to be the same thing in the beginning, against your competitors. And so you have what your company is going to be doing. So whether it's a product or a service, is your product inferior, or is your product less? Is your product inferior, or is it better, or is it superior? Right? That's something that's going to go into whether or not it's going to, and the answer will let you fall into whether or not you're going to be on the strength side or the weakness side based on your product. Okay. Your skill sets, all these different things that you find out about your competitor, how much market share they have, how much, what their clients have to say about them, how many years they've been in business, what their products offerings and their service offerings are, all these things. And then what the SWOT analysis allow you to do is see how you stack up against what they already have built for themselves. Okay. So it's all about how you stack up to the people you're about to compete against. Okay, so that's all we're going to talk about for the SWOT analysis. Just remember, I'll have a SWOT analysis template available to you by Wednesday of next week. Okay, and it will be available in the Build a Business Resource Center that is on my website, www.gailahenry.com. Okay. Collaborators. Now you're going to want to find out who the collaborators are within the industry that you're in. Who are the collaborators within your industry? How you're going to find that out is your collaborators are going to be the organizations, the associations, media, people, and other businesses that sell to the same customers you want to sell to. That's who your collaborators are. They don't sell exactly, they're not selling what you sell. They just sell to the same people you want to sell to. So remember, we did our market research, right? And when we did our market research, within our market research, and then we did the market segments, market segmentation. It can be said in either way, market segment, market segmentations. And when we did the market segmentation, and when we finally, when you finally bring it down into exactly who your ideal target market is, right? When you make that determination, once you make that determination, then you have to find out who sells to them as well. Who else sells to them? What organization can you hook up with? Can you that you can link into that's going to help you to reach those customers? So associations are always great. One of the things that you should always look into is the Chamber of Commerce in your community, right? Because the Chamber of Commerce within your own community, they have access to not only businesses, but they also have access to consumers as well. Because consumers use the Chamber of Commerce for many different reasons. They use the Chamber of Commerce a lot to find out who are the companies that is attached to them, to the Chamber of Commerce, that they can use for whatever purpose they need to. So if they're going to get their house worked on, or they need a tax person or things like that, a lot of people who do know about and use the Chamber of Commerce, that's who they find their people through. They find them through the Chamber of Commerce. They don't just go on the yellow pages and look for them. Okay? So your collaborators are going to be organizations, associations, media, people, and other businesses that sell to the same consumers that you want to sell to. Okay? You want to know who they are, because when you know who they are, you can springboard, piggyback, whatever terminology you want to use, off of them to get to those people. You can either create teaming arrangements with them, where partnerships, where they get to market to your consumers, you get to market to their consumers, right? Because at the end of the day, they're all the same. It's just they have people that you haven't tapped into yet, and you might have people that they haven't tapped into yet. You never know. So you can do like a cross advertising thing. It can work. They can advertise on your website, you can advertise on theirs, or they can advertise on your marketing material, you would advertise on their marketing material. Or you can put it in their businesses so that you have access to people who come into their business. And if you have access to people in your business, you put their marketing material in there, and then they'll get to the people that you service in that way as well. So that's how that can work. And with the association, that is, they give you access. You get to, because you have to pay for the associate, you have to pay your dues and your fees and everything along that nature. Then what ends up happening is you get to, create ads. You get ads, and they have these, especially the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm just talking about the Chamber of Commerce right now. I'm not talking about the other associations, because everybody do things differently. But for the Chamber of Commerce, I have some history with them, and they send out these packets, especially to new homeowners in the community. They send out these packets every month, right? And if you are a association, if you're a member of their association, of that particular Chamber of Commerce association, then what happens is you get to put your marketing material in the mail out, the packets that they have for these people, and your information gets sent out to homes throughout the servicing area that they service. Not all the homes, okay? It tends to be the new homes, new homeowners, new movers, people who just moved into the community, things along that nature. But they may have, a new way of doing things now, don't know. But take a look at your local Chamber of Commerce or your national Chamber of Commerce and see what they can do to help you reach the target market that you have in your mind, okay? I'm going to take a look at the time really quick. Okay, we got a half an hour. Just want to make sure that within the half an hour that we're going to get through as much things as we can get through. And, we're actually going to finish up today. So we won't have so you have an idea, now what, or what now. We won't have to do that again next week. We're actually going to finish this up today, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is checking the industry health of the marketplace that you're trying to penetrate, because it's really important for you to figure out what the health of that industry is. Why? I'm sure your first question is, why do I need to know? Why is that so important? Here's why that is very important. It's important because if the health of the industry is plummeting, you don't want to go into that industry right now, because how are you going to get a return on your investment? Every business that you go into is an investment. You put out time, energy, and money to make that business happen. There's no point in going into a marketplace that's going under at that point in time, and you're spending money to try and see if you can revive that industry. You don't want to do that. You want to go into an environment that's already healthy. That's like you being healthy, going into the hospital and saying, oh, I want to check myself in here like it's a hotel. I want to check myself in here for a couple of days. Don't worry, I'm healthy. I'm going to stay healthy. It doesn't make any sense. You don't want to take your business that it's not sick, because it's not sick, it's not plummeting, it's not going down, because you haven't penetrated the marketplace yet. But you don't want to take something that is on the, something that you're building, so it's in a healthy place right now, and put it in somewhere that's sick. That's pretty much what it boils down to. You don't want to take something healthy and put it into an environment that is sick. So, seeing as though that's not what we want to do, we need to check what the health of that industry is. Is it on the down spark? Is it on the up? If it's on the up, great time for you to penetrate that marketplace. If it's on the down, you need to know why. You need to know what's happening. You need to know is your product, if you go in, is your product going to plummet as well? Is all the effort that you're about to put in, Is it going to make you and your business, when you're trying to rise, it's going to make you fall? You don't want to go and do something that you're setting yourself up for failure. That is not what business building is about. It's about business building, not business crushing. Okay? You're here to build a business. So if you're going to build a business, you want to make sure that the environment that you're entering into is healthy. It can either be at a base level where it's been at this level for years. It's not high, it's not low, it's just in the middle, or it's high, it's on the rise, or it can be going down. So there's three directions that it can be going. It can be baseline, it can be up, or it can be down. Baseline and up, A-okay, go ahead and do what you can do to enter into and grab a piece of the market share within that marketplace. If it's on the down, think about it. Think about it for right now. Is it the best time for you to attempt to penetrate that market? Is it the best time? Can you wait? And how long do you need to wait? Not sure. The research that you did is going to tell you just that. It's going to tell you how long it has been the process of it going down, because everything that goes down comes right back up. It's cyclical. So how long has it been going down? If it's it's about to bottom out, because if it's on the bottom and it's bottoming out, then it's about to be on the come up. So if it's down, if it came all the way down, then in a little while it's going to start to bring itself back up, unless it's going to die out. But for an entire industry to die out is rare. Okay, it can come crashing down, but they also rebuild themselves. Okay, and if it is going down, in your research, it should have shown that. It should have shown why it's going down, and you should have made sure that you did everything you needed to do within your plan to make sure that when you enter into that marketplace, you're coming in with a product that's going to make that marketplace better, not keep it the way it is and not make it worse, but make it better. Okay? If you're going to come in, it needs to be for the betterment of that industry, for the betterment of that marketplace, for the betterment of the consumers within that marketplace, be it a product or service. So you need to make sure that you focus on the betterment of the marketplace you are trying to penetrate. Anything that you do, anything you come up with, need to be for the better, to help it to come up. Okay? So if it's on its way down, might not be the best time for you to jump in. If it's down, then it's time for it to come up. There's nothing wrong with you penetrating it when it's on the coming up. Okay? You need to research your consumer purchasing numbers within the industry of the purchasing numbers and the purchasing habits. So you want to know what the spending is like. Is there enough spending that's going to support you coming into that marketplace to try and take some? If it's not a lot of money that's being floating, that floats around that marketplace, right? Sorry about that. If there's not a lot of funds or revenues that's floating around the marketplace you're trying to penetrate, maybe that's something for you to think about as well. If you still want to penetrate that marketplace and the numbers are low, then you have to figure out a way for you to be able to still penetrate and grab some of those numbers. Okay? We spoke about the upturn, downturn, or leveling for the past few years. So you want to see what that trend has been. It's the trend of that industry. The industry health is a trend. Okay, and you want to see what that trend has been for the last, say, 3 to 5 years. For the last 3 to 5 years, what has the trend of that particular marketplace been? That industry been? The industry. What has the industry health been in that marketplace where you are? See what that trend is. See how, see the peaks and the lows and the leveling off. See how it's been going, so that you can make the best determination as to when is the right time for you to enter into that marketplace and to grab a piece of that market share. And it should also, along with everything else, help you to figure out how to grab hold of that market share that within that marketplace that you have. Okay. Another thing that you're going to want to find out is how is your competitors faring in the marketplace that you're trying to penetrate. How many businesses are in that marketplace? You might not find out all of it, but you want to get a basic number. The government, Department of Labor, so many different places within the government offer this information for you. You can just put into Google. I'm a Google person. I'm Google. Put into Google, put in what your industry is, and then ask it. You can ask it how many businesses are in this industry. And then you will get a list of links for different organizations and government entities that's going to have those numbers for you. And there might be the same place where you're going to be able to get a whole lot of other information on the industry and the marketplace that you're trying to penetrate as well. Okay? These are a few of the questions that your research needs to answer. And if you find that the industry is taking a sharp downturn in the sales within that marketplace, a lot of times it means that there's a need that needs to be filled. That's one of the indication that can be made. That can be one of the assumptions to the indication that can be made when an industry takes such a sharp downturn. That means a need is not being met by by the companies that's already there. Something is not right. They're not meeting the needs of the consumer. So the best thing for you to do, and that's when it's on the downturn, right? That's when it's on the downturn. So if the need is not being met, which is why there's a downturn, you need to find out what is that need that's not being met and meet that need. That's how you are able to, even on a downturn, still make money. It's the same way with not necessarily the economy, but with real estate. The best time to buy real estate is when everything gets topsy-turvy and foreclosures are coming in all over the place left and right. Best time to buy. Why is it the best time to buy? Because you can get maximum amount of property at the cheapest rate possible, right? And you can take it, you can flip it, you can keep it, you can sell. Same concept. Look for the opportunity within that downturn. There's always an opportunity. Just because there's a sharp downturn don't mean you run away and hide. Oh no, don't go in there. No, but you go in with a plan. You go in with a plan because you know what it is that's happening. You know what that need is, and you and your product or your service can meet that need. If your product or service can't meet that need, then you're going to be going down with the ship like everyone else. You don't want to go down with the ship. You want to go into an environment that's on the downturn, but you want to go up while those who've been in there are going down. The only way you can go up is if you can meet a need within that marketplace that needs to be met, because something is going wrong. There's something wrong why an entire industry is going down. Something is wrong. The consumers, the customers are not happy. Why are they not happy? Find out that answer. Find that answer, and you will find out the way for you to penetrate that marketplace. And instead of going down, you go up. Okay? Find out what's wrong. Find out what's wrong. Find out what need is what need is being unmet, and meet that need. That's how you can penetrate an entire industry that's going down. Okay? Just do the research that you need to do in order to find out what the need is and how you can fill it, how your product or service can fill that need. You might have to do some tweaking, right? You might have to do some tweaking with the idea that you currently have. You might have to do some tweaking, but that's okay. Tweak it so that it can make you become successful in an industry that is currently going down. Best time for you to penetrate that industry. However, not the best time if you don't know why it's going down and you don't know what you need to do in order to help it to make your company go up versus go down with the ship. Okay. Another thing that you might find out when you do that research to why the industry is going down is it just might not be the best time to pursue your idea at that time within that marketplace. You have to be okay with, saying to yourself, hey, that might not be that might not be a good idea, right? Because it might not be a good idea. Sometimes your idea might be a great idea, but not at that time. You don't want to lose your money. You don't want to lose all the time and effort that you put into the idea thus far to just go throwing it away all willy-nilly. You don't want to do that, right? So maybe it's not the right time. It's going to help you to determine if it's also not the right time. Everything that you do is going to let you know who your market is, what they want, what they need, who your competitors are, how you're going to go about getting some of their market share. And it's also going to let you know the health of the industry you're going into. And if the health of your industry is going good, then great. If it's on the downturn, then you need to find out why. If the why is there's an unmet need, you can meet that need. If it's because the ship is just sinking, then it might be a good idea for you to let it bottom out. And once it bottoms out, then the next thing that it can either do is die or come back up. Look for the right moment when it's about to come back up. Not when it's coming back up, but when it's about to come back up, and get in then. Get in once it already hits the bottom, because then it has no way to go but up. No point in you going down with the ship. No, that's going to be lost resources, lost funding, all of that. No, wait till it hits bottom, then jump on and ride the wave up, right? Or not just ride the wave up, but create the wave to ride up on. How about that? Create the wave to ride up on. You create the wave. It's at the bottom. So it's already at the bottom. You can't make it go down any further than it is. You can help it to come up though. So while it's already on the bottom, when it's down there on the bottom, you jump on when it's down there on the bottom, and then you create that need, you create that want, and you create the wave that needs to be created so that you can ride that wave coming up. Your product or service that you're going to bring into that industry must meet the needs of those clients, those customers. That's the reason why it went down in the first place, because their needs weren't being met. You need to meet their needs, whether it's through product or service. And it needs to be based on not just value, but quality as well. You should not have to sacrifice on quality because of value. Okay? So keep that in mind. Just because it goes down, don't mean that it won't come up. If it has the ability to come up, jump on, create the wave to come up. If it went down and it's not going to come up, then you might need to rethink it or wait until it's a good time for you to jump in. Okay? In the event that all roads lead to stop here, do not pass go. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it until you can come up with a plan as to why you do it. Come up with a plan. If everything you're seeing, if all the numbers you're seeing, everything you're seeing is saying, stop, there's a reason. And if you're going to decide to go against the grain, you can. However, don't do it without a plan of action. You need to have a plan. You need to be able to say within yourself why you're deciding to go into something that all signs point to don't. Not because you want to do something is the reason to do it. Yes, you just want to do it. That's fine. But come up with a plan that's going to make sure, well, do its best to try and ensure that you can still find success where all signs pointed to failure. Because I am a big proponent on going against the grain. I am. However, not when it comes to going against the grain without a plan. You need a plan. You need a plan. You need a plan. You need steps, and you need a process. You need to be able to say to yourself, this is where I'm trying to go to. This is how I'm going to get there. And this is the first plan, but also have a plan B. And then go ahead and create a small plan C too, just in case plan A and plan B don't work. You can see yourself still moving up. Okay? It's really important. If you're going to go against the grain and go past go when it said do not pass go, have a plan. And make sure it's a plan that's going to help you to succeed. Make sure it's a plan that's going to help you to succeed. Let me check. I see a question. Hold on. I'm coming. Sorry. Different setup today. Okay. I already answered the 3 questions that I saw on there. So if anyone has any questions that they need to ask me, please, please, please feel free. I am able to see you on Facebook. I'm also able to see you in the environment here on YouTube. So go ahead and let me see you. Okay, so you said that I answered your question, and that's great. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is your inability to let go of an idea. Okay. The inability to let go of an idea that has a high probability of failing may have you in a chokehold. Okay? The idea may have you in a chokehold. You can't let go of it. It's I must pursue it until the very bitter end. You know, it does not have to be a very bitter ending. Sometimes, all dreams can come to pass. It's all about timing, but it's all about timing. Do you remember last week and the week before, we spoke about this thing called timing. We spoke about this thing called window of opportunity. For every idea, there is a window of opportunity, right? And because every idea has a window of opportunity, that means that we have to capitalize on that window. Because when we allow that window to close, trying to get that idea to still pan out and do what it should have done, that time may have passed at that time. And so you have to wait for the cycle for that idea to come back around again, because everything is on a cycle. I know it might sound odd, but it's the truth. Everything is on a cycle, right? And because everything is on a cycle, there's the upturns and the downturns. There's ups and there's downs. It's like a wave. There's a wave. There's a pattern. There's a pattern, and there's also a flow, right? But if you move outside of that flow, you're causing yourself more problems than need to be. So it's the same thing when it comes to an idea whose time has passed, right? If that time has not come back around again for you to be able to revisit that idea for it to work, it's going to be hard trying to get that idea to come off ground, because you allowed the window of opportunity from the time that you had that idea to pass. So if you're trying to bring an idea from the past into your now, you're going to have to do some things and figure out a way in order for that to work, because the window of opportunity has long passed. That flow that there was, that ebb and that flow is gone. So now you're going to have to try and recreate an ebb and a flow that is not done naturally. It's being done and created by you. So it's being forced. You don't want to force. You don't want to force it. You want to capitalize, and you want to move in the time in which that idea was fresh, and that idea was new, and that idea was burning to be brought into existence. So this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing here, is because I don't want you guys to be looking backwards. When you look backwards, you're looking back at things that has already passed. They've already gone. You don't want to look at things that's already gone and then try to bring those things back from the past into your now to try and carry it into your future, because everything that's in your past is in that past for a reason. You left it there. You might have regrets now that you left it back there, but you already left it back there. So if what you're trying to work on now is an idea that you had from way back then, that you didn't do any of the things that you needed to do way back then, and you're trying to bring it into your now, that might be one of the reasons why you're having the problems that you're having right now. You don't want to try and force an idea. You don't want to try and force anything. Business building does not have to be forced. It does not have to be difficult. It does not have to be hard. You just have to do things do things in steps. You have to create a process. You have to take the steps that you need in order to move forward during the time of that window of opportunity that was there when that idea came to you. Every idea has a window of opportunity that as time goes on, it gets smaller and smaller until one day it closes and it's shut, and it may or may not ever open again. But if you just had an idea within the last, 3 months or maybe a year, hopefully that window of opportunity has not died. But if it's been years, you might want, and you're still holding on to it, and you're trying to make it happen now, and you're finding all this resistance, then there's a reason as to the resistance. It's that time. Everything is on a time. Everything got a timing. It's a time to everything. There's a timing. There's a timing. There's a timing. Everything has a time, everything has a rhythm, everything has time, and everything has a rhythm. Timing, timing, timing. It's very important when it comes to timing. You can have the right product or the right service, but at the wrong time, if it's the wrong time, it's not going to work. You can be at the right time, you can be in the right time, but you have the wrong product and you have the wrong service, and that won't work. But if you have the right product and you have the right service and you are in the right time, it will flow and you will be in the flow, you will be in the timing, and you'll be in the rhythm. And it will go like this. Every step that you take is supposed to open a new door. Every step that you take opens a new door. Every step that you take opens a new door, opens a new avenue, opens a new way of you being able to do things. Every step that you take will open up and shine more light on the next steps. Have you been noticing that when you're in this flow that you don't get to see the everything? You plan for a big picture that's in your mind, but steps that you need to take, gets created as you move along during the process. That's why there's a process that you want to go through that process in the beginning, because you don't get to see everything. You don't get to see the big picture until you do everything that you need to do, which is taking the steps that you need to take to get to where you need to get to. Each step takes you to the next step, takes you to the next step, takes you to the next step. If you skip the steps, you won't end up where you want to end up in because you skip something. So then at some point in time, you're going to have to turn backwards and you're going to have to go backwards to redo those steps that you skipped. Trust me when I tell you, if you skip steps in the beginning stages of building your business, you're going to have to revisit those steps that you skipped in the future. Because what you missed out on now, when it comes time for it to actually play itself out, which is in the future, it's never in the now. Everything we're doing now is creating the momentum and is creating the environment for what our future is going to look like and where we're heading in our future, right? So everything we're doing now is for the future that we're looking to capitalize on. So if what you're doing now is skipping all the steps that you actually need to take, then when you get to the future and then the things that we did now starts playing out, then you're going to have to then turn back and do the steps that you skipped out on now. Don't gloss over the idea stage. Don't gloss over the fact that you need to do market research. Don't gloss over the fact that you need to know who your primary target market is. Don't gloss over the fact that you need to know who your competition is. Not just one, but you need to have 3 competitions in your primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay? When it comes to your customers, 3. You need not 3. You need to know who your primary, secondary, tertiary customers are. You need to know who your purchasers, your influencers, and your end users are as your customers. You need to know. You need to know your you need to know your competition. You need to know the health and the environment that you're trying to get into. You need to know whether or not your idea is viable before you spend all your money and all your time and all your energy and go into a business that is within less than a year, you find that it's not working. It can't work if you didn't create a plan. You create the plan now, and the plan, you haven't even gotten to the plan yet. You're building on the plan. Because then when it comes time, when we're about to get into the business plan aspect of it, right? Down in the not in the next workshop, but after, and The other workshops, we're going to get into the marketing plan and the business plan. But everything that you need for that business plan, you're going to have all that information once you get these steps that came first. You don't just jump in and dive and create a business plan. First things first, you need to take some steps to find out the information that you need to find out, because the information you're going to find out in the idea stage is also going to go into the business plan. So that's why it's important not to gloss over this stage. That's why it's important that you do what you need to do when you find out what you need to find out about your target market, your competition, and the health of your industry. All those things let you know before you start a business plan, before you spend money on developing a business, as to whether or not that idea can work or will work. Okay? Without it, don't do it. Do not just jump in and go into business. Even if you have a client currently, someone asks you to do something and oh yeah, you jump into it and you do it and oh, I like it. Oh, I'm going to make a business out of this. Pump your brakes. That worked for you then, where somebody came to you and something just happened. But even if they send other people to you in the future, is irrelevant. You need a plan. You need a business plan. You need a marketing plan, because you cannot base a business off of one person who jumped on and had you do something and you decided, I'm going to make a business out of this. One person does not a business make. You cannot depend on that one person to keep bringing you customers down the line throughout the future. Your business is going to be dependent on the things you do and don't do, the leadership that you have for your company. And that leadership starts now. It starts today. It started the day that you had the idea and decided that you wanted to pursue it. You want to pursue an idea, then you as the leader of your company need to take the time and the effort, and you need to put it into the building of your company. Do not turn blindly away and want to half-step things. That is not a good idea, and that is not the best thing or habit for a leader to possess. You are the leader of your idea, of your company, of your project. And as the leader, you need to be able to lead people. They need to be able to have confidence in you. And you cannot have confidence in someone who's unwilling to put any time or effort into their own projects or their own business. Do the steps. Do not skip the steps, because every step that you take is being taken for a reason. Everything leads to something else. In the end, it all will make more sense and will all come together to help you when you're creating that business plan. Everything you do in this stage is going to be used in the business plan. It's going to be able to let you answer the questions within the business plan that you have. It's going to ask you about your market share. It's going to ask you about your competition. It's going to ask you about your target market. It's going to ask you about your market segments. It's going to ask you about their psychographic information. It's going to ask you about their sociology. It's going to ask you about their demographics. It's going to ask you about so many things, and those things that it's going to ask you about, you're going to have the answers if you do the steps that I'm telling you need to do in these original stages. So in the beginning, we started out with those 19 things that can hold you back from becoming a business owner, from becoming an entrepreneur. Don't let I did not add lackadaisicalness to it. But let me just put that one up. That'll be number 20. Lackadaisicalness. Don't do it. That means being lazy, not wanting to complete the steps, not wanting to do what's necessary in order to build what you're trying to build. If you're going to skip steps now, what's your business going to look like in the future? And if it does succeed, how are you going to keep it? How are you going to keep it going in that direction when you don't create a plan, when you skip steps, when you take all these shortcuts? You want to build a healthy, viable company? Then stop thinking about shortcuts and start thinking about steps and processes, because that's what's going to be needed for you to grow a healthy company. Going to allow you to be able to see things on different levels, going to be able to help you to get a vision that's not just in front of you, but it will be able to give you a vision of, future visions, let you be able to see down the road and create plans for what's next. Don't skip the steps. We spoke about the things that can hold you back. And then last week we spoke about some of the things that you need to do when it comes to figuring out who your target market is and things along that nature, what you need to do in the idea stage. So we're done with the idea stage, and that's great. But when we come back next week, come back knowing that you're ready to pursue your idea. If you're ready to pursue your idea, what's next? You have a week to perform market research. Market research does not need to take a month, a year. Market research can be simple. You sit down by your computer, you find out some questions that you need to ask. You go through the list that I already, from the go back and take a look at the video from last week, look at the video from today again, and see where you want to go to. See what needs to be done. Do your research. Find out who these people are. Find out, and that's if you have an idea. Some people, what I've found, especially since last month, is some of you don't have an idea, right? You don't really have an idea. You just want, you know that you want to do something, but you don't know what that something is. Well, it's a great thing for you to take the initiative to learn these things now, so that maybe somewhere along the line, you'll figure out what it is that you want to do, and you'll know the steps that you need to take. But don't gloss over this step, okay? Don't gloss over this step. It's really important that you don't gloss over this step. Next week, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about what's in the name. So we're gonna talk about naming your company, and when it says what's in the name, it means why are we going to name the company what we're going to name it? What processes can you go through to figure out what's the best name for your company, so that it stands out? Or if it doesn't stand out, it's not something that's going to offend anyone or limit you from being able to branch out in the future, right? Because that's where rebranding for a lot of companies come from, when they create a name that is very singular. And then when they want to branch off to new things, they have to go through a complete rebranding of their company to, do something a little bit different to make it not seem a bit more, singular or too focused. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about a couple other things too. Don't forget, visit me at www.gailahenry.com to learn more about the company. Also, by Wednesday, you should have the documentation that I promised you about the SWOT analysis, and I'll see about giving you a couple of other pieces of material as well. I will give you a sample of the things that we spoke about. Anything that you're going to need that we spoke about last week, the week before, I'll give you access to them. But I'm still working on how that I'm going to go about doing that. Think at the end of it, all of you who actually want the information, I'll package it up into a product that will be on sale once this workshop is done. Everything will be together. And I'm also thinking about working on a workbook for you to put it in a workbook form that you can just go through the workbook. And when you answer all the different questions within the workbook, it should give you something at the end. I'm still working out all of the schematics, of that particular product. So anything that you want to know, anything you want me to add, feel free to go ahead and send me an email, info@gailahenry.com. Submit information, submit questions that you want answered, anything that you might need, any type of templates, or anything that you're going to want me to put into that workbook and that package at the end that's going to be for sale. Let me know what you're going to need so that I can have all those things together and package it up really nice and proper for you. Okay. I want to do a shameless plug. Well, it's not shameless. Hey, this is mine. My book. It's called It Was Good I Was Afflicted. It went on sale March 10th, 2015 of this year. It says, it was good, I was afflicted, trials, tests, struggles, transformation, and messages from God. I wrote this book. This book has helped countless of people who have already bought it and read it and has given me feedback to let me know how blessed they have been with my book. This tells about the transformation that I went through when I was going through, a period in my life that some changes needed to be made, and how I was able to get through that transformation and allow God to bring me through that and me not be a hindrance to him. And so I developed processes and things that I did to also do my work and help myself along the way. While he was doing a work on me on the inside, I was also doing a work on me as well. So I was assisting. I was not helping. I was assisting him to do the things that, that he needed to do. Hold on for 1 second, because I do believe I have messages coming through. Just know that this part is going to be cut out of the actual. Okay. I am back again. Sorry about that. I had to go and check messages. I should have set it up right here, but I didn't. So, I had to go over there to get to what I needed to get to. And that part, even though you're able to see it now, the people in the, when it comes time for them to watch the video, they won't see any of that. Okay. So go ahead and purchase my book. It tells you about the process that you can, the things that you can do when you're moving from where you were to where you're trying to get to, how to work on your mindset, the things that you need to do to change the way that you've thought in the past. And, just help yourself to be able to move forward in life in a more positive, healthy way. So again, It Was Good I Was Afflicted can be purchased at Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, Create Space, and other fine retailers. If you want my book, if you go into bookstores, you can ask them for my book, and what they'll do is they'll order the book, and the book will get delivered to your bookstore. So you can go ahead and do it that way as well. I am very grateful to everyone who has already purchased my book. Many of my clients already have, and I'm grateful to you guys for that. All I want to say is we're here to help you. I'm here to help you both in life and business. So the reason why this is here, even though this has nothing to do necessarily with business, helping you on the life side of things, which is my life coaching, what we do. We also offer life coaching. So for the life coaching aspect of my company, we tell you, we show you ways how to change the mindset that you've had in the past that has stopped you and blocked you from being able to accomplish all the things that you've wanted to accomplish, right? So what we do is, in life, we develop habits. The same thing that I was talking to you about, habits that we develop that stops us and blocks us from becoming entrepreneurs and business owners, are the same things that stop us and block us in life from moving forward from, that's that place where we were into where we want to go, or to the person, to becoming the person that we want to become, where we know that we have the ability to be the, a better version of ourselves, but we are stuck. We are stuck in the way of thinking and doing and being, of things in the past that it has not worked for us. It has blocked us. It has kept us from being able to move forward and to move on to our fullest potential. So I wrote this book just not just to help myself, but to also show people what I did and what God did for me in order to help me to become the person that I became, that I am today. Why I'm able to stand here and do what I do, why I'm able to have the businesses that I have, and move forward in life the way that I have. It's because I went through a transformation where all those things of the old me had to be dropped off and had to be left on the side of the road. And I left it there and it stayed there, and I have no intention of picking those things back up because I wanted to move forward with my life. And once I made the decision to move forward with my life, many of the things, people, and things along that nature that needed to fall away fell away, so that the real me, the new me is able to manifest itself and come forward, so I can do all the things that I need to do, should do, and all the things that I'm destined and called to do. Okay. And as you know, one of the things that I'm called to do is to help entrepreneurs, freelancers, and small business owners to transform their lives and their businesses so that they can reach the level of success that they want to reach. I am here to help you to get to wherever it is that you want to get to. Anything that I can do, I will do in order to help you to get to where you want to get to. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sticking in there with me and going through with the third installment of the workshop. I may not have said it before, but you all know that this is the Build a Business Workshop, where from the beginning of August, August 1st through the 26th of September, we're going to be talking about different things that need to happen in order for you to be able to launch the business or the idea that you have on your mind. By the end of this workshop, you should have everything that you need in order to make an informed decision as to whether you want to go with that idea and how to go about making sure that that idea that you came up with can be actualized and realized and manifested into the world. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care. Mwah.